Welcome back. Thank you very much indeed for your company. Just before the break, I was talking to Richard Power Said and also Jason Reed. They were having a bit of a ding-dong about all sorts of things, all sorts of topics. Interestingly, many of you have messaged in about this. This one says, David, doesn't Richard sound like every other lefty? Do they attend a training course where they learn this script? Thank you very much indeed. This is from Nathan. He says, David, I'm really sorry. This leadership campaign needs to be stopped for the sake of the people that voted them in. We have China flying missiles over Taiwan. We've got Putin thinking he's taking back a democratic country, and the longer it goes on, the more danger there is to the United Kingdom. Another message, we were talking about utilities and the water supply. This one says, what on earth is going on? How can you build a water pipe from Yorkshire? We were talking about actually whether different utility companies could provide different water services, and I was just a bit confused about how you have a market in water when you have infrastructure into your home. But anyway, it's a complicated subject. This one's from Terry in Portsmouth saying, I'm not going all Jeremy Corbyn on you, but I do think the water companies need nationalising. I think this because, unlike energy companies, we have no choice in regards to who our water company is. And that was the point I was trying to make earlier, probably very poorly, but it was the point that I was trying to make. Kev Brady says, Rishi Sunak is just another one of those wealthy conservatives that has zero empathy except for their own wealthy kind. And it is the same for most of them. Remember, he has got no working class friends. And yes, that includes you wannabe rich middle classes. I don't know if that's aimed at me, but thank you very much indeed for all of those. It's time now to go stateside. I'm delighted to welcome Professor John Christopher Buer once again. He, of course, is a White House correspondent at Real Political News. Very good to talk to you again, John Christopher.
2 weeks in a row, David. I'm delighted.
I'm more delighted to see you, I have to say.
Getting good feedback by our followers, I see.
Well, indeed. I see you're very big on Twitter, indeed.
Well, not as big as you, but I try. We're getting there. We're nudging up.
We are indeed. Let's start with your first story, and obviously the White House summoning the Chinese ambassador.
Yes, indeed. There was a lot of angst and anxiety and recriminations going on. And we know Nancy Pelosi took off. She had a tour of Asia, and she decided she'd stop in and stop in Taipei and see how things were going in Taiwan. The president wasn't totally thrilled, and other members, former members of Congress, thought it was not a very good idea. But others thought, what the heck? She's got an opportunity to do that. She is third in line, actually second in line to the presidency. So it was a little bit of a risky deal. She's after the president, the vice president, and then comes her. So she's third. So she's a hot shot. And I guess she wanted to make, maybe some say not so pleasantly, she's making her swan song, but she's got a right, others say, and she's darn well did it. So we will have to deal with it.
Can I just jump in there? Can I just jump in there? Because I was really confused about this. This was the highest level visit by a US official for decades, I think since 1997. And clearly what she did sort of went against what the US president really wanted. And I was just confused that she was able to do that, obviously on that great big 747 with the United States of America written on it. So clearly it was an official visit, but obviously the president not best pleased. Why do you think she did it? I mean, I know this is a subject very close to her heart. She's been campaigning on it for years and years and years. And why would the White House allow it if they didn't like it?
Well, now we're talking politics, and now we're talking the fact that if she said she wouldn't go after she knew the president wasn't pleased, would it look weak? Would it look weak to her? Would it look weak to the Americans? Would it look weak to the president? Remember, she didn't take the ultimate big jet. That's AF-1. That's where the president flies. But she did go, and I don't know. I know a lot of people who I'm close to who were former senators or ambassadors who thought it was a bad idea to make Joe Biden look weak. And Joe Biden has had a great week, so he doesn't want anybody else making him look weak. Although Putin is trying to do that with the Brittany Griner situation. He's trying to do anything to throw cold water on this, and in fact, trying to get some real vicious individuals in trade. But Stephanie, the fact is that Biden polls have been somewhat low lately, but this has been a very striking week for him. He's on a real rebound, and many things. He thinks that if he loses the House in little less than 12 weeks, David, we talked about this last time. If he loses the House and the Senate, the January 6th is over. January 6th committee. He's a lame duck president for 2 more years, and there will not be any legislation. He will have a very tough time. But he's had a wonderful week, and he's passed. Approval ratings have gone up. His job numbers that came out today, I should say, the job numbers for the working, the number of jobs created, 528,000 new jobs, which is double the amount expected. And the unemployment rate is 3.5. And this is all good news for Joe Biden, especially now, because the jobs that recovered seem to be the jobs that they were recovered from the pandemic. And he's on a roll. So he doesn't need any of this extra nonsense to bring him down. And
right.
There's also the vote in Kansas, where women were out in force, en masse. 1.9 million new voters said, we're not taking this anymore. We're going to not let our state legislature tell us that we cannot have access to women's health care, including abortion. So It's been a real change of pace here in America. And it may do well for Joe Biden and Democrats coming up in about 12 weeks.
And just in terms of Biden, where is he picking up that support then, given that you said this is good news? He's basically doing much better than certainly was the last time we spoke. Do you think he's actually picking up that support on those bi-coastal regions, or is he actually changing people's opinion in the middle as well?
Well, as you know, you've been to America.
I live there.
Is nowhere near either coast. It's right in the middle of the U.S. of A.
Yeah.
And as Dorothy says, we're not in Kansas anymore. The fact is, it's a very conservative state, and women have got out en masse.
Yeah.
And those people are very active, and you got to give them credit. And they will not give up. There's too much at stake. Now, Trump is also in a lot of mess. The noose is tightening, and the DOJ is getting closer. Merrick Garland is getting close. He's bringing in practically the entire former White House legal his legal individuals, yes, those guys, and his I'm sorry, but his Cipollone and Fleeman, they're being brought in to discuss exactly what went on. In fact, there's been discussions that Trump's lawyers have told him to stay far away from Mark Meadows, who was his chief of staff, because he may be flipping on old Donald himself. So Donald's in a lot of hot water, and the January 6th committee will continue.
Yes.
And they've got a lineup that you must keep looking at that one.
Okay, I will do indeed. I just want to go back to Nancy Pelosi's visit, obviously. Just in terms of what this has done, China not happy at all, as we saw. And I said this over the last couple of days. Obviously, we saw this show of strength from China itself. The fact is, obviously, they've launched these military drills and so on. They use these DF-17 hypersonic missiles, the J-20 stealth fighter jets. They have actually encroached on territorial waters. What does this mean for the security of the United States and, by default, the security for her allies, including the United Kingdom?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's very dire for all of that. But the Chinese do it on 2 different levels. They've already said they're breaking off any diplomatic conversations when it comes to border crisis, in terms of drugs, in terms of the issues of climate crisis. They're cutting all of that off. They're not going to be talking to our leaders, our diplomatic leaders. The Chinese work lots of different ways, and we should learn from this. Now, do I think it was a mistake for Nancy to do this? Yes, I personally do, and I like her, but I think it was not the time. It's all about, like comedy, as in politics. Timing is everything, as you know, and I think that the Griner issue is also one where Putin is flouting it. I mean, he wants the merchant of death in exchange for this girl who was a basketball player.
Indeed,
I mean, she did a silly thing. I mean, if I went to Russia, I wouldn't go to Russia. But a lot of these young women are supplementing their salaries by playing abroad, and Russia is one of the places where basketball is popular, and that's her personal issue. But again, stuck with a 9-year sentence. I think it hopefully will be worked out. Hopefully, Whalen and Xi can be exchanged, but they're looking for the most treacherous individuals. They even want to take a murderer out of Germany and trade him into it. But then Putin again is playing his game, as he does with the UK. He now wants Germany and the US to go against each other, and he's the master puppeteer, Vladimir the Thug. I will say.
He's a very bright man and knows what he's doing, and pitting countries against each other is a brilliant way to distract from what you're actually doing in Russia, and I think you're absolutely right. He's very, very clever. He's a mastermind at it. And just in terms of our relationship with China, what's the view in Washington on how we need to reset our relationship with China? For many people, we are far too in bed with China. We rely on their goods far too much. And is it time, according to those in Washington, that actually we need to be very serious about the way we go forward?
Well, to Joe Biden's credit, and this is another credit to him, and I didn't throw in that he got al-Zawahiri. We'll just throw that in the mix.
Yeah, I'm going to come back to that in a minute. Yeah.
Okay, fine. He passed a bill which will give more independence to the U.S. in terms of their chips and developing electronic processes to not have to depend on China for all our electronic and our computer issues. That was a Joe Biden plus. That is a good thing.
Yeah.
But again, the Chinese embassy is a few blocks from here, and there are not very happy people there. And it's tough. It's tough. China is a very, very big threat. Okay, and we need to work with them. We need to have détente, if you will use a word from the Cold War, with the Chinese, and we may want to make sure that our diplomats and our elected officials check out with the top policy people at the White House before they take any more trips abroad.
Just very quickly, 3 days ago, of course, we saw the news the US had killed the leader of Al-Qaeda, Ayman al-Zawahiri, in a drone strike. That was authorized by, of course, Biden. That, I assume, it was a feat of engineering and military intelligence. I assume that's played well in the States.
Well, he can take a walk, an arrogant stagger, and walk down the street and say, hey, I did what I said I would do. I pulled out of Afghanistan, but I also said we're going to be keeping Al-Qaeda in check over the horizon. And everyone thought, come on, that's ridiculous. How can you do that? Well, he proved it, and he did do it. And I think it's another plus in Joe's cap. And he also got the veterans, passed some veterans legislation, because this horrible burn pit thing, and he got those guys all the way going back to the Vietnam era to get support for their issues and their diseases that are coming as a result of what went on in that part of the world as a result of those miserable burn pits, as you know, Doctor. Doctor.
I do indeed. Thank you so much. It's always great to talk to you and to catch up what's going on stateside. That's Professor John Christopher Buer, White House correspondent at Real Political News. Extraordinary stuff. It's time to take a break now. After the break, we'll be talking about Prince Harry again. Guess what he's up to now? This is TalkTV. We're broadcasting live from the Talk Radio studios.